The Story of Josanna. By Heir. Chapter 7, Clariann. Josanna was taken out of the forest and into another civilization that she was not expecting to see. It was a place entirely different from Haven. Their infrastructure was more advanced, with sturdy buildings made of stone and bricks. The city was well kept with roads and market vendors throughout. It was a whole new world that Josanna was experiencing. However, her sightseeing would be cut short, as she was carried into the largest building in the entire city of Clariann that was heavily guarded and bare resemblance to a giant castle. Once they entered, Josanna was thrown into a large room where she was surrounded by an audience of people she did not know. She felt even more anxious without Hammer by her side as he was locked away in a tiny cage held by one of the guards. She looked around and noticed that everyone's skin tone was different from hers. Everyone in the audience and even the warriors who carried her here were all light-skinned, whereas Josanna was slightly but noticeably darker than everyone else. As she continued to look around, one woman with extravagant clothing took center stage of the room. The aura she emitted was completely different from everyone else. It was the feeling of oppression and tyranny, and it made everyone uneasy. The woman took a glance at Josanna and was repulsed by what she saw.
What did you all drag into the city now?
Chancellor Jezebel, this woman was able to take out one of the elite soldiers in the forest. It is very unusual for such a person outside of our tribe or our enemies to do so. I think the Queen would be very intrigued to discover that.
The Queen has more important matters to deal with than to talk to some dirty outsider. Throw her back in the wilds where she belongs.
With all due respect, Chancellor, that is not your decision to make.
How dare you talk back to me, you insolent fool! I will have your rankings revoked.
The audience watched on as the situation was about to escalate between Jezebel and one of the warriors of Clariann. Thankfully, before things could get worse, the bell sounded and an announcement was made that the Queen was about to enter the room. The entire audience, including the soldiers and Jezebel, all went on their knees. The only person who didn't kneel was Josanna, but one of the warriors who was close by pressed against her shoulder, forcing her to kneel down with everyone else. Once the Queen took center stage, she lifted her hand up to signal everyone to rise to their feet, and they all complied. Josanna got a good look at the Queen, who was about 20 to 30 years ahead of her in age. She was also light-skinned like everyone else, but her posture and attitude was unique. It was clear from the way she dressed and carried herself that she was a woman of strength.
What brings distress among my people today?
Queen Clariann, my apologies that we have disturbed you. Some of your soldiers have brought in an outsider into our city. You do not need to trouble yourself with such matters, as I, your right-hand advisor, shall deal with this on your behalf. Please, save your energy and focus on the real important matters.
The Queen acknowledged what Jezebel said, but after hearing the dispute between her and one of the soldiers, she felt the need to intervene. She turned towards the soldier who had Josanna near her and asked the warrior to speak. The soldier informed Clariann of what happened in the forest and how Josanna single-handedly took out one of their cavalry units in the middle of the night. After hearing what her soldier had to say, she asked her to stand away so she could get a closer look at the outsider. Clariann walked around her and after a quick assessment, she spoke.
You aren't one of us, but you also aren't one of them. Tell us your name.
My name is Josanna.
The instant her name was spoken, the Queen had a sudden feeling of feebleness through her entire body. She was about to faint and fall on her head, but thankfully, one of the soldiers caught her. Chatter began to scatter amongst the crowd and confusion was afoot, but Jezebel attempted to take control of the situation.
That filthy outsider has used some sort of dark magic to harm our Queen. We must get rid of her at once.
Jezebel had complete control of the crowd as she manipulated them to boo Josanna. They were chanting to throw the outsider into prison, but the soldiers weren't sure what to do. The Queen managed to regain some of her strength and she signaled for the crowd to simmer down.
People of Clariann, I know how you must feel. You are tired of all the constant fighting from this war. We have lost many loved ones in this needless conflict. That is why I believe we must keep our minds open and learn from others who are different from us. Our way of thinking has gotten us where we are. If we are to break out of this endless cycle of violence, it will take a new perspective.
As the Queen paused, the people remained silent and felt the power of her words. No longer were they hostile to the outsider like they were moments ago. Clariann turned to Josanna and then back to everyone else.
Starting now, Josanna will be my honored guest. No harm shall befall her unless I command it.
All the soldiers nodded in unison and the people acknowledged what the Queen had to say. The only one who adamantly disagreed was Jezebel, but she concealed her disdain and reluctantly nodded. The bell sounded, letting everyone know the hearing was over. The audience kneeled as the Queen was about to take her leave. However, before she stepped out of the room, she stopped to speak to Jezebel and another one of her soldiers.
Bring our guest to me. I wish to have a word with her alone.
The soldier happily complied with her orders while Jezebel hid her anger as they left the room.